So, hello, welcome back with another video. Do want to point out, yes, it is a video. Not only the podcast of Awareness by Anthony de Mello. And yeah, I hope the quality is right. I have been trying around with a few things because performance back in the days was absolutely horrible. And so I've tweaked the settings a bit, I've tweaked things a bit, and so I guess it is a bit better, at least. But it is also a bit better if you can indeed even see me, which now it's a bit better. Yeah, we are gonna go ahead with not illusions, not renunciation, not suffering, not false happiness and love, also not true happiness and love, self-observation, also not, but who am I? This is what we're gonna go ahead with. The great masters tell us that the most important question in the world is, who am I? Or rather, what is I? What is this thing I call I? What is this thing I call self? You mean you understood everything else in the world and you didn't understand this? You mean you understood astronomy and black holes and quasars, whatever this is? Could actually look it up, can't I? Quasars, a massive and extremely remote celestial object, emitting exceptionally large amounts of energy, which typically has a star-like image in a telescope. It has been suggested that quasars contain massive black holes and may represent a stage in the evolution of some galaxies. Well, and you picked up a computer science and you don't know who you are, question mark? You are still asleep. You are sleeping sign. You are a sleeping scientist, just make that clear and right. The great mystics of the East are really referring to that. I, not the me. As a matter of fact, some of these mystics tell us that we begin first with things with an awareness of things. Then we move on to an awareness of thoughts, that is the me. And finally, we get to the awareness of the thinker. Things, thoughts, thinker. What we are really searching for is the thinker. Can the thinker know himself? Can I know what I is? Some of these mystics reply, can the knife cut itself? Can the tooth bite itself? Can the eye see itself? Can the eye know itself? Listen to this. Am I my thoughts, the thoughts that I'm thinking? No. Thoughts come and go. I am not my thoughts. Am I my body? Or body, They tell us that millions of cells in our body are changed or are renewed every day or minute, so that by the end of 7 years we don't have a single living cell in our body that was there 7 years ago. Cells come and go, cells arise and die, but I seems to be persistent or seems to persist. So am I my body? Evidently not. It is a changing part. It keeps moving, it keeps changing. We have the same name for it, but it constantly changes, just as we have the same name for Niagara Falls, but Niagara Falls is constituted by water that is constantly changing. We use the name for an ever-changing reality. So how about my name? Is I my name? Evidently not, because I can change my name without changing the I. How about my career? How about my beliefs? I say I'm a Catholic, a Jew. Is that an essential part of I? When I move from one religion to another, has the I changed? Do I have a new I, or is the same I that has changed? In other words, is my name an essential part of me, of the I? Is my religion an essential part of the I? Well, no. I wouldn't say so. You could be a plumber or a lawyer or a businessman or a priest, but that does not affect the essential I. It doesn't affect you. If I change my profession tomorrow, it is just like changing my clothes. I am untouched. Are you your clothes? Are you your name? Are you your profession? Stop identifying with them. They come and go. As you identify less and less with the I, you will be more at ease with everybody and with everything. Do you know why? Because you're no longer afraid of being hurt or not liked. You no longer desire to impress anyone. Can you imagine the relief when you don't have to impress anybody anymore? Oh, what a relief. Happiness at last. And I think it really does make sense. And I think it is a really, really good and also important point to make. Especially one not being one's profession, one not being one's body, and so on and so forth. Like, the problem that I'm seeing there is there a correlation between, for example, a very, very, very good and easy example, is there a correlation with my personality and my body? I think, yeah. Certain people that are incredibly fit and have a good physique, well, they are going to have certain characteristics. If they are good or bad, this is just not what I'm trying to debate here. I'm not trying to talk about, but rather the fact per se. So, does it say something? Yeah, I would say so. I think certainly that one's profession and way of living is part of one's personality. The thing is your personality and the way you act and move and do things, is this you? Or should this be I or me? Should I identify with that? Since it is also changing, since it is also moving or can move. I mean, if I'm having a certain point of view of the world and I'm just doing things in a certain way, should I really make this me? Like who I am? Wouldn't that make too much sense, as it doesn't make any sense to base your personality and your, well, actually identifying just yourself as a lawyer and this being who you are. Like, it is the exact same thing. I could also say, okay, I am a nice person. This is who I am. Rather than saying I'm a person that is nice, which is something completely different. Which is not about me anymore. It is, okay, I'm a person. Well, yeah, this is just essentially what I am. I am a person that does work out a lot or something. Don't know. Pretty difficult thing here now. Being before doing. It is not your actions, it is not your being that counts. Then you might swing into action. You might or might not. You can't decide that until you are awake. Unfortunately, all the emphasis is concentrated on changing the world, and very little emphasis is given to waking up. When you wake up, you will know what to do or what not to do. The scriptures are always hinting of that, but you will never understand a word of what the scriptures are saying until you wake up, which is a fucked up cycle, then, quite frankly. Sleeping people read the scriptures and crucify the Messiah on the basis of them. You've got to wake up to make sense out of the scriptures. When you do wake up, they make sense. So does reality. But you'll never be able to put it into words. You would rather do something? Question mark. But even there, we've got to make sure that you're not swinging into action simply to get rid of your negative feelings. Many people swing into action only to make things worse. They're not coming from love, they're coming from negative feelings. They are coming from guilt, anger, hate, from a sense of injustice, or whatever. You've got to make sure of your being, quote unquote, before you swing into action. You have to make sure of who you are before you act. Unfortunately, when sleeping, people swing into action. They simply substitute one cruelty with another, one justice or injustice, therefore, for another. And so it goes. Meister Eckhart says, it is not by your actions that you will be saved or awakened, call it by any word you want, but by your being. It is not by what you do, but by what you are that you will be judged. That I would actually really like to have a bit more so that I can actually understand what I'm reading, which is incredibly important. This set here, this set of paragraphs, or this one paragraph, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, quite difficult for me to grasp it here, to be honest. The Dancer and the Dance, which is gonna be the last one, I think, for today. To lose the self is to suddenly realize this. Yeah, to suddenly realize this. To suddenly realize that you're something other than what you thought you were. You thought you were at the center. Now you experience yourself as a satellite. You thought you were the dancer. You now experience yourself as the dance. There are just analogies, images, so you cannot take them literally. They just give you a clue, a hint. Their only pointers. Don't forget. I am he who is. You are she who is not. Have you ever experienced your is notness? In the East, we have an image for this. It is the image of the dancer and the dance. God is viewed as the dancer and creation as God's dance. It isn't as if God is the big dancer and you're the little dancer. Oh no, you're not a dancer at all. You are being danced. Or danced, by the way. Do you ever experience that? Charity is never so lovely as when one has lost consciousness that one is practicing charity. You mean I helped you? I was enjoying myself. I was just doing my dance. I helped you? That is wonderful. Congratulations to you. No credit to me. A nice definition of an awakened person, a person who no longer marches to the drums of society, a person who dances to the tune of the music that springs up from within. I do really like, and I'm just really trying to figure out things and how I could put it into a different way and how I could apply this point of view to my life and different parts of life in general. But I do want to repeat it again. Charity is never so lovely as when one has lost consciousness that one is practicing charity. You mean I helped you? ? I was enjoying myself. I was just doing my dance. It helped me. That's one. I'm sorry, it helped you. That is wonderful. Congratulations to you. No credit to me. And it just makes sense. If you do not realize that you have helped somebody, why the fuck would you get credit for it? Or why would you want credit for it? No, it just, I don't care about it then. I really don't. If I'm doing something and it by the way changes somebody's life, well, great. That's amazing, of course, but it is not kind of, it's not amazing me directly, just because probably at first I didn't know about it. So yeah, I'm just doing my shit, just doing whatever I'm doing. I just dance. I do actually want to add one more. To know God and the unknowable. This is what is ultimately in our hands. This is ultimately in our human knowledge of God, to know that we do not know. Our great tragedy is that we know too much. We think we know that it is our tragedy, so we never discover. In fact, Thomas Aquinas, he is not only a theologian, but also a great philosopher, says repeatedly, all the efforts of the human mind cannot exhaust the essence of a single fly. In the prologue of his Summa Theologica, which was a summary of all his theology, Thomas Aquinas says, about God we cannot say what he is, but rather what he is not. And so we cannot speak about how he is, but rather how he is not. And in his famous commentary on, well, I'm butchering that quite a bunch, Boethius, the Sancta Trinitate, I guess, he says, there are three ways of knowing God. First, in the creation, second, in God's action through history, and third, in the highest form of the knowledge of God. To know God's tamquam ignotium, to know God as the unknown, which is just the Latin before that. The highest form of talking about the Trinity is to know that one does not know. Now, this is not an Oriental Zen master speaking, this is a canonized saint of the Roman Catholic Church, the prince of theologians for centuries. To know God is unknown. In another place, Saint Thomas even says as unknowable. Reality, God, divinity, truth, love, and unknowable, that means they cannot be comprehended by the thinking mind. That would set at rest so many questions people have, because we're always living under the illusion that we know. We don't. We cannot know. What is scripture then? It's a hint, a clue, not a description. The fanaticism of one sincere believer who thinks he knows causes more evil than the united efforts of 200 rogues. It's terrifying to see what sincere believers will do because they think they know. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a world where everybody said, we don't know? Well, I'm gonna end the episode there. Just don't feel like going through the rest, and I do want to give it my all. Maybe I'm gonna just go through the overall thing again the next time. But until then, I wish you the best.